Today on the table I have the FNS9 and the CZ P07. You will see a price split of about $81, the CZ being about $81 more than the FN. While I'm on the topic of price split, there's an issue that I need to cover real quick so I don't forget about it in this video. All the CZ firearms are dropping drastically in price. I really see one of three reasons why this would happen. One, the pistols are just depreciating. Two, they're either having some financial problems and they need to raise some money real quick. Or three, the company as a whole is about to make a really big move. Now, somebody had commented because I had brought this issue up and they said that they heard that CZ was going to be making an American company. So that might be the case. Why this is important to you, if you already own a CZ, don't try to sell it right now. This is not the time to sell a CZ because in some cases they went down by $100. So your pistol became worth $100 less. If you don't own a CZ yet, depending on which of the three issues it is, which I'm starting to believe that it's the third issue where they're going to build a company in America, now is the time to buy a CZ. They are just coming down in price. Snatch one up while they're cheap. Specs. The FN is a much lighter firearm. Because this is the threaded barreled version, the CZ is longer, and it does have the suppressor height sights on it, so it is also taller. It is also a fatter firearm. Now with suppressor sights, don't get them, like I'm serious, don't get them unless you plan on running a suppressor. With them being tall like this, it's incredibly easy for the front sight to hide behind the back sight. It just happens. The only way, or the only advantage to having these taller sights that I've ever found is at range. Instead of just aiming above your target, you can come down on your front pin. And it helps. But at range, I mean, your front pin is like this much bigger than a human-sized silhouette. So, I mean, is it really helping that much? I don't know. But anyway, like say you started off on a CZ with tall sights, or any firearm for that matter with tall sights, and you went to a normal sight firearm, you wouldn't notice a difference because you're already making the change. But say you learned on a normal firearm and then you went to suppressor sights, you're going to be like, oh wow, this firearm is slow. Or say you went from a CZ to a normal firearm, or not, I shouldn't say a CZ, any firearm with a tall sight, and then you went to a normal firearm, and you didn't touch that tall sight firearm for like a year or so, and you just kept practicing with your normal sight. Then you pick up the tall sight firearm, you're going to be like, that firearm's slow, because you have to do it differently. You can't just go into action. Because when you do that, if you're just a little bit off on your sight, it doesn't matter. Make your correction, do your shot. With a taller sight firearm, if you go straight into action, well, you can't see your front sight, even if you're off just by the minute amount. So you have to tip up the barrel a little bit, find your front sight, adjust, come back down, and then shoot. So you'll find yourself, when you bring it up, having the barrel canted. So there's an extra movement in aiming with a tall sight firearm. Both firearms do have night sights. Unfortunately, they messed up both of them. They have all three dots the same color. So in a situation where your heart's racing, you know, your life is on the line, it's very possible you might miss a line. You might go front sight, back sight, or back sight, front sight, thinking one of the back sights is the front sight. It's especially bad on the FN because they make the front sight bigger than the back sights, so it screws with your depth perception. They look like they're the same distance away. Yeah, you probably wouldn't notice on the CZ with the tall sights if you're in a panic anyway, but for normal shooting, like let's say you hear something in your house, you come out, you click your light, you go back in, you're like, wow, there was someone there, and they were armed, so you drop down to one knee, you get ready to come back out again, and for some reason your head isn't quite far enough behind the firearm, and now you're shooting with this back sight thinking that it's your front sight. So that is something to be aware of. Is it really that big of an issue? No, but it is in fact an issue. Now the CZ uses a non-circumcised frame. And it's also got the front slide milled in at this crazy angle, so these front serrations are useless. You can't grip them at all. You're better off just putting your finger on the front sight, racking the slide that way. Back sight ones also suck, because no matter how you grab this, your thumb's either riding across your decocker, or your safety, because this is convertible, and you can slice your thumb open, or just having it slide off and punching yourself in the chest. I am not a fan of these non-circumcised frames at all. FN, Nice, big, easy to grip surface. Same with the front, very doable. Now you're probably like, but the bore axis and less mass. I checked this bore axis against basically every firearm we have in the safe. The only one it actually has a lower bore axis on is the Walter Creed and the SIG. The FN has a lower bore axis. The Shield has a lower bore axis than the CZ. What else? The PT-111 and G2C also have lower bore axes than the CZ. As far as mass goes, everyone I've tested it against that has an equal length slide, including this FN, the SIG, is a lighter slide than this one. The only difference between a non-circumcised frame is the fact that you got full length rails, but there's no reason why you couldn't do that on a standard frame. Basically, they're using propaganda to help sell this, but it's cool because they give you suicide sights. So if you discover the propaganda and realize you don't like the firearm, they also got sights on this side, so you can make sure you get the job done right. Trigger break. FN breaks like a striker fire. A little bit of movement in the front sight. I've seen a lot worse out of striker fires. Here's your reset. Right there. Your wall. Some creep. And then the snap again. CZ. Single action mode. Breaks very clean. You'd be able to make some very accurate shots with that. Double action mode. It's pretty heavy. Lots of take up. And a terrible trigger break, which is to be expected. Here's your reset on the CZ. Much shorter than the FN. Your take up. Here's your wall. Some creep. And then your snap. The CZ beats the FN in trigger break across the board. There is absolutely nothing I could do better with the FN as far as trigger break goes that I couldn't do with the CZ. When you purchase the firearms, your CZ, you get your owner's manual, changeable back straps, gun lock, your conversion kit, so if you don't want to run double single, this can just be a safety, and then you can just run it cocked and locked. Pretty cool. I like the options. You get a second 17 round magazine, a little swab thing, cleaning brush, and a very nice hard case. This is quality. With the FN, you're gonna get 3 17 round magazines, changeable back strap, gun lock, owner's manual. Now the CZ doesn't give you a sticker. I just feel firearms manufacturers should throw in a sticker. I mean, even my iPhone, they say if it doesn't have a sticker, it's probably a Chinese knockoff, don't buy it. FN goes one step farther. Not only do you get a sticker, it's a refrigerator magnet. So that's pretty cool. I like that little extra effort. Now the FN case is not good. This thing's a garbage box. It'll work for a little while, but it's just folding plastic in the back. This is gonna snap. I probably wouldn't use that case, or I'd look at replacing it as immediately. Something you gotta think about. Now the ergo's on the FN. From your normal shooting position, magazine release, very easy to hit. That's really all it's got for buttons. Takedown on the FN, far easier. Lock your slide to the rear, flip this lever down, eject your magazine, slide comes off after you dry fire it. I can't stand the ergos on the CZ. I don't know why everybody raves about how awesome they are. But anyway, so your decocker's in the back, and it's also really close to your slide release. So, I mean, if you're going to hit this and your finger slides down, now you've decocked the firearm, that kind of sucks. Your magazine release, I can hit it, but it's far forward. I mean, it's right on the edge of what I'm able to do. Your slide release, you have to cant the firearm to use it. So now instead of just doing a quick magazine change where you're popping your mag and you hit it, that's not going to work. You got your firearm canted, so now you got to throw an extra step in there. FN, this isn't technically a slide release, and that's what I meant to say on that. It's just a slide stop. It doesn't have any texture on the top. It's only got texture pushing up on it. But from your normal shooting position, you can do it. Come in with your magazine, and then you're good to go. Now, the FN has a ramp sight, so this is literally impossible to rack on your clothes. Not an option at all. The CZ, it's ramped, but where this is tall enough, you can hook this on your clothes and rack it. So that is kind of cool having one-handed manipulation. Now, the CZ, to achieve 17 rounds, they use what I can only describe as some sort of eBay mod. This looks terrible. It's a terrible magazine extender. I wish they would have given me at least one magazine with a flush base plate that would have looked good inside the firearm. But they didn't. Your FN, very nice. Very clean looking magazine. Same capacity as well. The actual quality of the magazine is far superior too. Both have anti-tilt followers, and just the finish on it. You pretty much got to see it in person, but yeah, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, the FN's got a better magazine.
With that being said, there was some complaints from people saying, why did CZ do that? I, for one, would have liked to have seen them right in there as well. But looking at it now, I would say it's not necessary. And the reason being is because people will say that this allows you to get really, really high into the gun, which low bore access, which makes it a better shooter. But I would tell you, you're actually going to get a lot deeper into this gun, and you're getting a much, much lower bore access because you can see where that frame is really a part of your hand. Whereas with this one, that beaver tail soaks up a lot of that. Now, again, if you remove the beaver tail and you do a deeper undercut here, it would work in the same concept as the P10.
Bore axis, like I said, all of them seem to be higher, even on CZs where they have circumcised frames against non-circumcised frames. Still, there isn't no difference. You can't get away from the fact that the slide needs to come to the rear. Whether it's inside the frame or out, you can only go so high with your hand before you're going to start running into slide bite. The overall look of the firearm, without a doubt, the FN, I give it to that all day. Now, I am an FN fanboy, so that is something to understand. Just how the little barrel nub sticks out, that looks amazing. The slide serrations look great. It's just crafted beautifully. The CZ doesn't look bad, but like I said, I cannot stand the non-circumcised frame. There's just no surface area. There's no girth to the slide at all. I'm assuming that's because in the other countries, their appendages are smaller, so even if they had more girth, they wouldn't know what to do with it. The FN is ambi. The CZ is convertible, your mag release. Your decocker and or safety is already on this side. Now, your slide release is only on one side, so you're probably just going to have to slingshot it back over hitting this. But like I said, that could be an issue because if you were to come all the way down with your finger, you're going to decock it, and you don't want that. CZ uses a metal trigger. I'm just a fan with metal triggers. I mean, even though it's extremely cold in Wisconsin and you could totally freeze your finger to that, I don't care. FN, plastic trigger. Never like plastic triggers. Now, which one would I pick? Well, both these firearms, for me at least, are too big to conceal carry. I just couldn't do it. I get annoyed by my smartphone on how big it is, but it's got purpose, so I have to carry it. Same with guns. I'll carry them because they have purpose, but they need to be a lot smaller than this. So these would be like nightstand guns, tack vest guns, holster guns, something like that. So, which one would I purchase? If it's my first firearm, and I really don't have a whole lot of range time to invest right away, the learning curve on the FN is going to be smaller. You're going to learn that quicker. 1 second, let the phone finish. The learning curve on the FN, like I was just saying, is going to be shorter. There's less controls to master. I mean, you make sure it's loaded and you can pull the trigger. That's all you really need to know. How to change magazines. So if you don't have a whole lot of range time to invest, you're going to learn this one quicker. Now, if you do have the range time to invest, the CZ you're going to be better with in the end. Not because of the non-circumcised frame, and I took yesterday off and I spent like the whole day comparing videos where people would do shooting videos and they have side-by-side shooting. Take screen captures of that, compare it. I am seeing no less muzzle flip out of these. So I don't know why this is supposed to have less felt recoil, because the people that are literally on camera saying, oh, it's got less felt recoil, when I measure how high the firearm goes, it's the exact same.
This is called the placebo effect. It's one of the strangest and least understood phenomenons. It's most often used in pharmaceutical clinical trials to prove the efficiency of new drugs. For some reason, the placebo effect doesn't work unless there's a source of external influence to initiate a sequence of events. What's strange is the external influence may differ.
Very little difference. If there is a difference, it's negligible. Now you might get some sort of difference from the full-length rails and how it applies the recoil to your hand and what you feel. But what you feel and what I'm actually seeing in measurements is not the same thing. But anyway, you will be better with this if you have the range time to put in, because you have the option of a single action trigger. This will allow you to take really long, really accurate shots. Plus you don't have to, like, the FN doesn't have a safety. Some people don't trust striker fighters without a safety, and I get that. This you don't have to run a safety on either. You can just load it, decock it, and this trigger is so heavy you could not accidentally pull that. Not possible. Not possible at all. The CZ is also a much higher value firearm. Yes, the FN is cheaper, but to get like the FN, you'd have to go to like the 509 Tactical to get a threaded barrel, suppressor sights. I'd have to double check, but I think those are over $800. And that's where the CZ shines. This is not a premium firearm. You don't get premium parts. There's nothing premium about it. Where this shines is the value you get. This is an extremely, extremely high value firearm. So, I'm a double single fan. I'm an FN fan. So which one would I pick? Pretending I could actually conceal carry it, I would probably actually go with the FN. This is just another snag point. I mean, even if you had the normal one without the high sights, your hammer is still a great place to hook on your clothes. Pushing that off the table, because of the value you get with the CZ, all the options you have, plus it's a double single, you get a nicer trigger. Yeah, the takedown sucks. Yeah, it's a heavier firearm. Yeah, this magazine extension just looks stupid. Yeah, you have a non-circumcised frame. I would actually pick the CZ. But thanks for watching. Leave in the comments below which one you would pick and why. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out my Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe.